Hello everyone and welcome to another video from
Game Dev Journey.
This is the end result of today's video. We will be creating a level with our background we created in the previous videos, and we'll be using a TileMap to design the level or paint the level that you can see with these two special platforms, which will be pass-through platforms, allowing the player to jump up through it from below and to press down and fall through it from above. Let's get started. Let's make a new scene and let's add a TileMap layer as the root, and we can rename this level 1. And then what we'll do is on the inspector for the TileSet, we'll click here and create new TileSet, which opens up a window at the bottom of the screen here. At the bottom of the screen, we'll click on TileSet, and in this little tiles area here, we're going to drag the TileSet that we will use. Here's the tiles we're going to use, and I'm going to grab it and drag and drop it here, and it will automatically create the atlas for me. I will say yes. Right, these are the tiles in our level, and we're going to have to set them up a little bit to make sure that collisions work correctly. So most of our tiles will be solid, but these ones in the top right hand corner over here, these ones are going to be our special pass-through tiles, also known as a jump through tile. So they'll allow the player to pass through them from below and above. Now to achieve that, we'll use two different physics layers on the tile set. So if we go to the TileSet property up here and click on it, and we find the physics layer category here, we can add elements. Now I'm going to add two elements. So we have two sets of physics layers, physics layer 0 and physics layer 1, and each physics layer has collision layers and collision masks, and I'll explain how those work a little later. So what we will do now is we will set collision layer number 2 to be the ground. Collision layer mask 1 will be the player. Then collision layer 3 will be the pass-through layer, and we'll leave number 1 on as the player layer. And I'm just going to rename these layers so that it makes things a little easier to understand. If I click on the three dots and I click Edit Layer Names, it brings us to this menu where we can type in names for our layers. So I'll call number 1 player, I'll call number 2 ground, and I'll call number 3 pass-through. And close. So now if I hover here, you can see that this is the ground layer. So that is its layer, and the ground layer is colliding with, the mask means what it's looking to collide with, and it's colliding with the player. So the ground will collide with the player, and we need that because the player needs to stand on the ground. If you click here, you can also see the layers we've created, and we can put tick boxes on like that. And if we look over here, layer 3 is the pass-through layer, and it's colliding with or looking for things on layer 1, the player layer. So this means that the player can stand on the ground tiles and the player can stand on the pass-through tiles. And that's really all that does. Now we actually need to paint the collisions onto the tiles, because these are all just sprites basically. Now they have no collision at all. They're just images. So what we do is in the tile set over here, we come down to the setup, and you can scroll through and you could change all these things. We're not going to do any of that right now. But if we click on the select, we can actually select a tile, and we can go to the physics and choose a layer. And if we go to layer 0, here we can see we are now editing physics layer 0, which are the ground tiles. And we could actually change the collision polygon for each individual tile if we wanted to. For now, we're just going to leave them all as squares, and we're just going to paint the entire square as collidable. So if we click on paint and we paint layer 0, here we are, that's what the polygons will look like for each tile. And we won't change any of that for the ground tiles, but we will just go ahead and paint all of these. And you can see the collision box shading over all of them as we go. And this will ensure that all of these tiles are solid, completely solid, and they can be collided with by the player. All of them are solid. These ones we haven't touched. These are going to be our pass-through tiles. So what we're going to do to make sure that the pass-through works correctly is we're going to switch to layer 1, which is this layer here, which is our pass-through. And we're going to focus on just these tiles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change the collision for it, because all of that is empty for those ones. And we can go ahead and paint them all the same. So these are all painted as pass-throughs. But there's one thing we actually need to do for these, which I've forgotten now. In the if we select the tile in its physics layer, in its polygon, we need to make them one-way tiles. So I'm just going to click on each of them and make them one-way tiles. What one-way means is that they're only going to collide in one direction. So all of these tiles, the player will be able to jump up onto them from beneath them without any extra code. They are one-way collisions, so they only collide from above, essentially. So you can jump up through them, but we'll have to add a little bit of code so that we can press down and fall back through them later on. That will make them true pass-throughs. But with that done, our tile map is ready, and we're ready to start actually painting the level. So now we switch from the tile set to the tile map, and we have all our tiles and the collisions are set up correctly on them. Now we can actually paint the level in any way we like. So I'm going to go ahead and paint a little level here, and you can paint any level you like, or you're welcome to copy mine. All you need to know about painting the level, there are a few handy shortcuts. If you press, this is the paintbrush, so we can go ahead, for instance, and start painting the ground over here. So I'll start in this bottom left corner there with that, and I'll switch to the middle tile, and I obviously want the middle to go across all of it. If I hold shift and drag, it'll drag a nice straight line, and then I can switch to the last one. Makes it very easy to paint lines of tiles. So it's shift and hold down mouse button. The other thing that's really useful is if you want to paint rectangles. So for instance, if we want to use this and paint a little rectangle, what we can do is we can click there. I'll just do the outside of it first. Let's do that many and get that corner there. We'll get a few in the middle there, say there, grab the corner, paint down, and get that last one, and maybe fill in the middle. And now if we want to paint a rectangle of all of this middle tile here, we can press Control Shift and just drag, and we'll get a big rectangle like that, which is exactly what we want. Another great time saver. If you want to erase any tiles, like for instance, I feel this one I've started too close to the edge here, you can just right click on it and it's going to disappear. Actually, I might leave it. It's not bad. In fact, I might go a little bit beyond the edge of the screen. And with that said, I'm going to paint the rest of the level, and I'll fast forward it so you can watch me painting. And I'll see you again at the end. And just like that, our tile map is ready. To make our level, we can actually bring our background into the scene so that it's behind our level design. So what we can actually do, let's create a new scene here. Let's just have a default node there. And let's bring in the background. So I'll grab the background scene. We just reset its transform over here to 0, 0. And then we can drag in our level scene as well and reset its transform to 0, 0 to 0, 0. And now if we perhaps save this scene as our first level and run it, we can then see we've got our level with our background in it as well. The next step will be to get a player that can interact with this level. See you next time.